Hello, good morning, Angelo. Gonna start with the tutorial, okay? Even if you're not yet here. Okay. Right, for today, the agenda is remediation of contaminants. Okay. And yeah, the main focus of this tutorial is the rates of decomposition, which is important in making decisions, okay, in the mitigation, right? The first, let's define some concepts. You have your reaction rate. Okay. So the reaction is important because contaminants, when they react, of course, it reduces their concentrations, okay, which can allow the contaminants to reach safe levels, okay, or very dilute levels where they cannot impose any hazard. Okay. Most reactors or reacting factors include chemicals or bacteria. Okay. And reaction rate is important in determining the necessity of remedial measures. Do we even need to do anything, or are the bacteria actually sufficient? Okay. And if you're on the other hand, if you're designing reactors or chemical reactors, okay, yeah, you will need to know the reaction rate. Now, there are many ways in which we can approximate the rate of reactions. Okay. Keep in mind that in contaminations, we have very limited data. Okay. Usually just two or three measurements of the concentrations over time. And it's really helpful to have a concept on how the reaction will proceed. Okay. For most contaminants, the contaminants usually undergo what you call a first order kinetics reaction. Okay. This is similar to HCl. Okay. Like in the start, when you drop an HCl acid in your limestone, you will get a very strong or vigorous reaction because you still have a large concentration of HCl, and it will eventually slow down, and it can exponentially slow down over time as your HCl or concentration reduces. Okay? So you have reducing concentration, and at the same time, the the surface area involved in the reaction is also decreasing, right? And that means you have two factors which are decreasing over time: your concentration and your surface area, and that results in a exponentially decaying reaction rate or concentration. Okay. Right? And first order kinetics are usually approximated by this equation. Your gamma A is just equal to negative K, or your reaction rate constant. This one is usually determined either from the laboratory or from the field testing, and then your concentration, your current concentration. Now we can express the changes in concentration over time as long as you have these variables. Okay. As long as you have the initial concentration, okay, so it's really important to measure the concentration of the contamination at the start, okay, as soon as possible. And then as long as you know the action rate constant. Actually, the first thing in a contaminant investigation, the first thing that you would like to know or establish is the initial concentration, or the concentration usually at the first signs of the contamination, and another concentration measure after a certain period of time. Okay. Okay. As long as you have these two concentration measures plus the time elapsed, you can determine the exponential rate of chemical reaction. Okay. This reaction rate constant. Okay. So as long as you have these, you can determine the reaction rate constant, and from there you can actually use this equation again to predict the future. Essentially, just predict the concentration in the future, which is important, especially if you are aiming for a safe level of concentration. Okay. So we're gonna solve that in the example later on. Okay. Right? K is your reaction rate constant. Usually depends on the chemical, but this is usually determined from at least two measurement points of concentrations at two different times. Usually maybe weeks or months in between. Initial concentration, okay, and then concentration at a certain time, okay, and E is your Euler's number, okay. Although for the exercise, we only need this first equation, okay, for determining K and for predicting the future concentration. All right. This is our scenario for our tutorial. Okay, you have a petroleum PPH spill or oil spill. Okay. So you have petroleum leaking, which leaked from the surface into the vadose zone and eventually entered the aquifer at day one. Okay. Okay, so day one is the time it reached the aquifer. And we sampled the soil. It has a concentration of 5,000 milligrams per kilogram. Okay. And then after 20 days, we sampled again the site. We sampled again at the aquifer. Okay. So after 20 days or at day 21, we found out that the soil has a 2,750 milligrams per kilogram concentration. So it essentially halved after 20 days. Okay. So note that this is not a simple problem of taking a linear rate. So this is actually an exponentially decaying rate. Okay. So at the start, you usually have a fast decay, and this will eventually slow down. So you have to be really careful, right? So how do we solve this? The problems or the these are the details. You have a gasoline spill, which reached the aquifer, the total petroleum hydrocarbon. So this is the general measure for most petroleum products. The initial concentration is 5,000 milligrams per kilogram. After 20 days, concentration dropped to 2,750 milligrams per kilogram. And for most petroleum products, most of the reaction or decrease in concentration is usually due to your bacteria friends, okay, natural biodegradation, as well as the evaporation or volatilization of your petroleum products. At this point, we don't really care on what other factors are happening. Okay? But for now, we're just gonna approximate the process as a first order kinetic reaction. Okay? Okay, so like most of chemical reactions can be approximated by first order kinetics. Okay? So we're gonna stick with this assumption. Now, our task is to determine the rate constant K. Rate constant K and the time for the total petroleum hydrocarbon to reach 100 milligrams per kilogram from day one, right? And this is the solution. The first step is, of course, to list down the given data. Right, first step is to list down the given data. You are given the initial concentration or CA naught. You were also given the time elapsed between the initial and the current concentration, 20 days. You also have the current concentration, which is 2,750. And you were told to assume a first order kinetics. Okay, so essentially, again, first order kinetics means you have an initially fast reaction, but due to the decreasing surface area and decreasing concentration, the rate of reaction is exponentially decreasing, right? Right, and the asked variable is the rate constant K. And then essentially the solution is to go back to the formula. Okay. So we just need to isolate K, and it's actually more convenient to use this first form of the equation. Okay, so first we isolate K, and then we just flip the equation. So eventually K is going to be equal to the natural logarithm of the current concentration divided by the initial concentration divided by the negative time. Okay. And if you're just gonna be plugging in the values, okay, we will get a value of around 0.029 or approximately 0.03. Okay. K is a dimensionless or a unitless number. All right. And this is gonna be useful for making predictions. Okay. Like what would be the concentration in the future given a certain amount of time? Or what would how long would it take for for the contaminant to reach safe levels? Okay. And we're gonna be doing that in the next part of the tutorial. Right? Let's say that the safe level of the contaminant or the safe concentration level is 100 milligrams per kilogram or approximately 100 ppm. Okay, so let's say that's the safe, I think this is pp. I'm gonna check. Okay, so this is the safe level, 100 milligrams per kilogram. So this is our target concentration. And you would like to know how long would it take for the contaminant to reach this this level of concentration relative to day one. Okay. So from day one, let's count how many days would it take for the contaminant to reach this level. And the solution is shown here. First, you have to list down the given. You have your current concentration, Ca. So our term is current, but this is actually the future concentration, 100 milligrams per kilogram. You also have your initial concentration, right? We said that we're going to be starting with day one. Therefore, we have to use 5,000 milligrams per kilogram concentration, right? Next is to use the rate constant. So this is the rate of reaction for this given chemical, given this condition or given this site condition. Okay. Right? This rate constant is site specific and chemical specific. Okay. And we have determined it as approximately 0.03 from our sampling data. And from here, we can just again manipulate the formula, right? We can just use again the first form of the equation, and from there we can isolate the time or t. Okay. So again, after manipulating and isolating t, it's gonna be time is gonna be equal to your natural logarithm of your current concentration divided by the initial concentration divided by the negative k, right? And this is gonna be something like 130.88 or approximately 131 days. Okay, right? And that means if we are aiming for 100 milligrams per kilogram concentration, if we're aiming for this level of concentration, which is considered safe, it would take 131 days or approximately at day 100, day 132. Okay? At around day 132, we will reach the safe levels. Okay? So approximately about, I think 4 months, 4 months, 2 weeks, right? Now we have some follow-up questions for the tutorial. Okay. So we will not read this information in isolation. Okay. We would actually like to know whether the contaminant is traveling fast enough to reach some vulnerable locations. Okay. So now, talking about the same contamination, let's say that you know that the aquifer has a hydraulic conductivity of 10 meters per day, an effective porosity of zero point 0.5, and a hydraulic gradient of 0.01. Determine the Darcy velocity, determine the seepage velocity, and determine the time needed by the contaminant or the seeping contaminant to reach a river located 50 meters downstream. Okay. And the final question, assuming that the only concern is the contamination of the river, and assuming that the safe levels is 100 ppm, would it still be necessary to remediate the contamination in the site? Okay. Okay, so let's assume that we're only worried about the river being contaminated. Okay, so let's solve this one by one. First, we determine we rather we list down the given data. We have your hydraulic conductivity at 10 meters per day, effective porosity of zero point 0.5, hydraulic gradient of 0.01, and travel path or length of contaminant travel is 50 meters. And now we have to determine the Darcy velocity, which is it's essentially like the volumetric flow rate velocity. Seepage velocity is the flow velocity of the individual fluids. Travel time is how many days we will the contaminant need to reach the river. Right? First, we solve for the Darcy velocity. It has two forms. It's either discharge is equal to KIA or velocity is equal to KI. Now, K is your hydraulic conductivity, or capital K is your hydraulic conductivity. I is your hydraulic gradient. And we're going to be using the velocity form of the Darcy equation, right? And Darcy velocity is going to be equal to 10, hydraulic conductivity of 10 multiplied by the hydraulic gradient. And we're going to be getting a Darcy velocity of zero point 0.1 meters per day. It's quite slow. Essentially, it's moving about a few a few yeah, zero point 0.1 meters per day. So it will take 10 meters 10 days for the contaminant to move by 1 meter. Next thing we need to determine is the seepage velocity. Right? Now, the Darcy velocity is just the movement. It's really just a velocity of the fluids as a whole or as a group. Okay? It's useful for calculating volumes. However, if you want to actually know how fast is the fluid traveling, okay, individually, you might want to know or determine the seepage velocity. Okay, so this is the faster velocity. This is the velocity which actually reflects the movement of the fluids, okay, in the pore spaces. And seepage velocity U is simply equal to Darcy velocity V divided by your effective porosity. Therefore, seepage velocity is equal to zero point 0.1 divided by 0.5, and you're gonna get 0.2 meters per day. Okay. So again, this is substantially faster than the Darcy velocity, but still it is quite slow. It's moving. It would take 5 days to move 1 meter. And finally, we can now calculate the time needed for the contaminant to travel downstream into the river, right? And you simply divide the distance or the length of the travel path by the seepage velocity, and we get something like 250 days. Now, we have to answer now, is it still necessary to do remediation, assuming that we're only concerned with the river downstream? Okay, to answer that, you simply have to visualize which will happen first. Okay, okay. With the decomposition to safe levels, which will take 131 days, okay, occur earlier than then the travel of the contaminant downstream should take 250 days. Okay? Right? So at least in this part, it's obvious that the contaminant first will decrease in concentration to safe levels at day 132. And by day 251, it will reach the downstream. Okay? It's going to be reaching the downstream at that time, but at that point, the contaminant has already reached its safe levels long before, right? Therefore, we don't really need to do any remediation given this scenario. Okay? Given all these constraints, it's not necessary to do any remediation. Okay? So essentially, just do nothing. Just let the microbes, let the natural degradation of the contamination to occur. Okay. Now for the problem, you have a very similar scenario, but I just tweak the values a little bit, right? I also have here a bonus problem on delineating the capture zone of remedial wells, but not gonna be discussing this for this tutorial. It's self-explanatory. All right. This concludes our tutorial for exercise 4. Okay. All right. If you have questions or queries, just email me in Blackboard or email. Right. Thank you.